Good evening, everyone. I'm Antonella Arca. I'm product manager of Buzz My Videos, a media tech company focused on strategy on YouTube. And I have the pleasure to moderate this panel about women's football and the value of the extraordinary change. We have Arianna Criscione remotely, Sarah Butters, and Laura Giuliani. And I'd like to have them introduce themselves. Hi, Arianna, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you guys. Hello, everyone.
Okay. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Was it too loud?
Everything is fine. We would like to have you here in Rome, but yes, we can see you very well. So, if you want, you can be the first to introduce yourself.
Great, thank you. Thank you for having me. And I'm sorry I can't be there in person, but I have a 5-week-old baby, and so it's not possible for me to travel right now because she needs me home. So I'm happy to join like this. Um, am I still on camera? Because I can't see you guys anymore. Okay. It's very weird. I can see two of me, which is kind of creepy. So I'm an ex-football player. I actually played with Laura for a long time and have some funny stories, but I'll tell you guys those later. And I currently work as the founder and owner of Valeur, which is a platform to help women working in sport, whether you're an athlete, C-suite, or anything in between, value yourself on the market. And I'm a founding member of the new investment and then utility platform that will be Mercury 13. That it's an investment firm that will be buying women's clubs and investing in women's football and showing the world that women's football can make money and can be a profitable business on and off the field. Those are the two things besides being a new mom that I'm doing now, so very busy.
Thank you, Arianna. Laura, can you introduce yourself?
Hi, everybody. I'm Laura Giuliani. I'm the goalkeeper of AC Milan and the national team. And I'm very proud to be here today, talking about like a big movement going forward and growing very fast. So I'm very proud to be part and to represent my movement here today.
Sarah?
Hi everyone, I'm Sarah Butters, formerly a commercial director at Southampton Football Club, where we had a women's team in the Championship. I'm now with Brighton and Hove Albion, so working with that team. They're in the WSL, but also consulting brands and how they engage with women's football and how more people can join the movement to make it realise its full potential.
Perfect. So this is an international panel, so I'd like to have from you an overview about the opportunities in women's football and the evolution that you have observed from your perspective based on your experience and on your career. Let's start talking about women football in Italy with Laura and in Germany, that are the main countries where you play.
First of all, I would like to remember that in my career I left Italy when I was 19, and actually we had no women's movement here. So it was 2012, and I left because I had a big dream, and I wanted to be a professional footballer. So I decided to challenge myself and to leave. At the time, Germany was one of the first professional championships and one of the best in the world. And there I really decided and found out that that was what I wanted to do. When I came back to Italy after 5 years, I found a completely new environment. I left when I was playing in Como, and I came back and I was playing in Juventus. So, like, the gap was incredible. There, I think I really understood what professionalism means. Professionalism is about mentality, work, structures, and club. I think from that moment on, when I came back to Italy, we had like a very fast and big growth. It starts when the big men's clubs came into our world, so step in our world. And from there, with the World Cup of 2019, everything started to be like amazingly fast. Today we have, like I just give a number, we have kind of 37,000 registered girls playing for the movement, and it's actually a very big goal for us because we started from almost 19,000 in 2008, and the federation decided to push in on the female movement, forcing the clubs, the men's clubs, to have the youth leagues. So from like a very small number of girls, and today we arrived to 37,000 registered players. So that's a big deal. The other side, it's about audience. Today we have the possibility to be on DAZN. Our league is on DAZN.
I can talk about nothing
some games
while you
going
test
on,
the audio.
Rai 2.
How does it sound?
Giving everybody the possibility to see and to watch our games without paying helps to be involved and to get involved and to know our world. That's just something.
Okay, sure.
Numbers
sure. Good morning or good afternoon, good evening,
like
whatever
years.
time it is over
if
there.
I have to think about like what we need today
Yes.
to be improved again or still are like the stadiums. I think what we really miss in this moment are stadiums.
Okay.
It doesn't mean we need something big. I think as a player,
Should I leave
that to have
the camera
like a
on?
small stadium but full is even better than to have a big one but empty. And it gives you completely different perspective. And also from the TV, if you think about watching a game but without people on the seats,
Thank you.
like it doesn't give you like a very nice feeling actually. So it really helps. To have structures, to have facilities, not just to improve naturally the way of working, the way of training, but also the way of showing your product to the people who faces it or that wants to get involved in it. And I think another big thing that we have to talk about is like the image is right. Arianna was saying that this world needs to make money, but making money means to have balance. What you spend is an investment on the future, on the players, on facilities, or on anything that makes the system grow. But on the other side, you need then to have something back because you don't waste your money. You want to see what you're doing and what you're fighting for, what you're spending for. And that's why that's so important to understand that every player is a resource. Every player have an image, have a story. Why don't we use it to make the system grow? And that's not just something that you can use like individually, as we are doing now, because everybody is working privately. But the clubs can use their channels to make money from this. So it's a kind of resource that can be used. So it's just something I wanted to talk about, but I think we have then the best people talking about this then. because I really think that we have done a lot, but this is the moment where we have to push on the bottom to give gas and to push forward. And not stopping, not being happy of what we have done in the past, but looking at the future to make it happen again. And there is an amazing sentence I really like to share with you, and then I stop and I give the ice cream. That is, who better packs the product to evaluate it and evaluate it for its qualities wins. So that's the moment when we have to recognize this product and share it, but for the qualities and the value that it has, so that everybody could feel involved to make it bigger.
Thank you, Laura. Very interesting. Very interesting and positive as
ho parlato di te.
Oops. Very interesting also because, as you told us, numbers are doubled in Italy. So I wanted to ask the same question to Sarah and have her perspective from England.
Yeah, so obviously in England we've seen stratospheric growth of women's football in the last few years, really catapulted by the win of the Euros. We've seen TV audiences over double, attendances over double, and it's a really nice moment. But I echo a lot of what Laura said, and I'm always very cautious in England that we don't pat ourselves on the back too much at the moment and say, oh, isn't it great how well women's football's done? Because there's a lot of work still to do, and I think similar challenges, probably I put them in 4 main buckets of the visibility. How do we keep growing the visibility of women's football? Second, the investment, needs the investment. How do we also grow the commercial product? And it's great when we have Mercury 13 coming, hopefully setting the path for others to see how investable women's football is. Honestly, if you want a 10x return more on your money, it's women's football. And then also the other things we have to address are the infrastructure. You've talked about it. It's the same situation in England. So our teams are playing in smaller stadiums because, yes, as Laura said, it's better to play in front of a full small stadium than an empty big one. And I've had teams do both. Something we're doing at Brighton and Hove Albion, released kind of a couple of weeks ago, is building maybe the world's first, let me say UK's first, purpose-built women's football stadium. So built with both female players, but also the women's football audience in mind. And that will be built at the appropriate size to grow the game. And then when we're filling those stadiums, then we move them to the main stadium. And then finally, the last thing that we really need to focus on is the grassroots participation and pathways. I don't know how it is here in Italy, but we've got a lot of work to do with pathways in England, especially to ensure that as we develop the game, which we know has a more inclusive, accepting audience, that we also make sure, while we can, that football and the teams reflect society as best as possible, and making sure that it's not something that just happens in the more affluent areas where it's more accessible, but reaching out proactively into communities where children need the opportunity to be able to play. So I'm also a grassroots coach. I put my money where my mouth is, and I'm out there trying to do that. Actually, my daughter wants to be a goalkeeper, so she's going to be really happy about me being next year on a panel. But yeah, there's a lot of challenges, and it's amazing to see the growth, but I'm always very cautious of this is a start, and we need to accelerate it. And I think what Arianna's doing, that's trying to accelerate it, because if we continue in the speed that we've been going, we're still going to be sat here in another 20, 30 years saying, have we reached the potential of women's football yet? So we need to over-invest, both in effort and in money, to make sure that we make it the success that it deserves and hopefully will be.
Thank you, Sarah. Arianna, considering the international career that they took you from United States to Italy and France, I'd like to have also your point of view of the situation in women's football internationally.
Yeah, so I'd like to echo and reiterate obviously what the two women, not technically next to me, but next to me, are saying. One of them being the stadiums and purpose-built stadiums are really important. We've even seen it internationally in the men's game. The MLS, they started by playing in NFL stadiums and realized that was not the way to attract the best audience. The only piece that I would add to this that's really important though is you can't just have a smaller stadium, especially at academy training grounds. If those academy training grounds are far away from the city, or far away from where that fan base is, it has to be accessible to the fans to get there. So we have to make sure that these two things are coordinating well, not just a small stadium, but where is the stadium and how is it bringing the fans to the game. Another piece that was spoken about is investment and being Mercury 13 and how you do that. Though investment is a really big word that I think people use miscorrectly, especially from the men's game, where they go, okay, we have a women's team, so we're investing in women's football. For me, that's like buying a brand new car and you drive it off the lot. It's already depreciated. And just having a women's team is not investing in women's football. That's just having a team. To invest in women's football, you have to invest in the facilities. You have to invest in the players. You have to invest in the staff. You have to invest in the backroom staff. Like, there's a lot of different pieces and strategy that goes in behind it. You can't just buy something and then, okay, I bought it, so now it will make me money. No business person would buy a company and then just be like, well, I bought the company, it's automatically going to make me money. That's not how it works. You have to actually invest your money. You have to put your money. You have to make sure you're cultivating the different pieces and verticals that go into your business. So those two aspects are really important. I just wanted to touch upon those, and then I'll bring it back to myself. And from my own experience, and something that touched me personally is I had a big injury when I was playing in France, and it was, besides the fact scary and painful and all of those things, it was a moment that was that changed everything for me, because thinking about it, if I had to stop and go back to America, I couldn't afford it. My parents were going to have to mortgage their house to pay for the medical care that I needed because I'd been hurt in Europe and I didn't have insurance in the States. And because I was a professional player playing on my team, that meant that I had a job, and like any other person at work, I got injured at work, and so I had what is workman's comp, and so the government was able to help me. And this is a piece that we forget about, that the players, if they don't have professional contracts, they're not covered for retirement, they're not covered if they get injured, if they were pregnant, and like now we're changing this, but without a professional contract, this changes everything from your working standards and how you're treated and how you can even go back and get your money back. I played in Italy for many years and I wasn't paid all the time, and I had no way to kind of take them to court because we weren't professional, so we didn't have legal contracts. And so when people talk about salary, and it's great that we're having really big salaries in women's football for some players, the majority of players don't have those really big salaries, and they really do need the protection that having a professional contract, and a professional contract goes around it. And a lot of the things that Laura was talking about with facilities and how you treat your players if they have professional contracts, but these really protect the players holistically, and it helps them to continue to play the game, which is so important. And so it's surprising to me how many leagues still are not professional. France is not a professional league. I don't know how many of you guys know that, but it's not yet. It's supposed to become a professional league this June. Italy only recently became a professional league, and they're still kind of ironing out a bunch of things. The WSL in England is technically a professional league, but I'm still confused on exactly what those regulations are to become a professional league in England, because there's still some teams that aren't paying their players. And so when we also talk about equal pay and things like that, I don't think that's possible at this moment, but especially at Mercury 13, the clubs that we buy, we're going to make sure that our players are professional players and have the facilities around them that will help them be the best players they can be, and also bring in the best staff. Sorry, I kind of went off on a tangent there, but that's what I would say is also really important besides the other aspects that the two ladies next to me mentioned.
Thank you, Arianna. Now I'd like to move to social. And so let's start with Laura. As Laura has an Instagram account with 145,000 followers. So then AC Milan this year opened a dedicated account for the women's team. So I'd like to ask you if you can describe to us the role of social media overall in shaping positive social messages, but also in terms of media investments?
I think in this period of our sociality and the world, like social medias are a kind of way to keep in touch with all the world that is really rushing forward. And being on social medias and having like an account, an Instagram account with many followers, gives you the responsibility sometimes to share some values. This is exactly what it means to me, having an account on social medias. It can be on Instagram, but it could be also Facebook. We have TikTok. We have so many platforms nowadays. And I really think that to me the most important thing is to share with people that follows me my life, but not in terms of just being an athlete, because being an athlete is just a part, like a small part, that it becomes big when I think about myself as a professionist, but it's just like a comma of my whole personality and my whole life. Especially, as Arianna said before, like I wanted to tell you something, actually. I forgot how fast you speak and you talk sometimes. It was a pretty long time. I needed to set again. But it's nice to meet you again. Sorry, before I didn't say it. And she was talking about the way I forgot what I was saying because you speak too fast. And anyway, I can't help you. Anyway, I'm like I really think social medias are really a big part of my life because I want to share my personality. Because, as you said, Arianna, we didn't have the possibility before to live just from football. Like, we didn't get enough money, and we had so many doubts about our future because we didn't know, like, what's going on. Will I be able to play the next year, or will I have to be able to do something? So the very nice thing is that it gave me the possibility to throw myself in other environments, to see other perspective of my life, to see how big is the world around football, to say, okay, maybe in the future I would like to do this or to do that, or how is it working? Like, how can I help maybe somebody to make in the future of football his life or her life, talking about women. That's why social medias became for me so important, because it's not just about what people see that we are made. Like, everybody sees me in the goal, but I'm much more than a goalkeeper. I'm a person. I have hobbies. I have something to do. I have cats. I love the environment where I live. So I love to walk in the forest. I love just to sit in front of a sunset. I love music. I love singing. I love to do so many things that people couldn't know if I didn't have social medias. So the important thing is to understand that not everybody likes everything of us, of what we share. But in the big amount of things we share of us, everybody can find something that represents him. So you can find, or people can find a little piece of yourself, himself, inside what I post. Or maybe somebody says, to me it means something. So let's go deeply in this. So maybe I can like it, and that's a way of people to know something about themselves. And that's also, as I was saying before, like a big spot also for clubs, because we don't just have the responsibility to play well. We have also a social responsibility. So because we have an audience, because we have people that follow us, because we did it actually. So we arrived there. We have the strength and the power to make it happen. So we arrived in the first league. We played the World Cup, and that's the biggest dream you can have. So I had when I was a child. So I say, sometimes I look at myself at the mirror and I say, am I the woman that I wanted to be when I was young? And I say, maybe yes, because I achieved something. But there is much more after. And now that I achieved this, I have to understand what I want to do after this. And social medias, to me, are one of the best platforms to learn this. But being authentic, first of all, and then being myself, showing myself as I am. And sometimes I do good, sometimes I have good results, sometimes I play well, so people recognize me for this. And sometimes I don't play well, so maybe the fans can tell me I wasn't good. Or maybe they don't agree with something I post. But on the other side, I am this. I don't want to change myself because people have to like me. Like, the most important thing is our uniqueness. Like, we are persons and everybody is different. So we have to recognize first ourselves for what we are. And football, sport, has a big impact on the society for this. We are talking nowadays about women's, so women in the society. We heard what happened in Italy. What is it for? Everybody, like, just because we are women, we are not recognized. No, it's not like this. Everybody is recognized for who we are, and we make choices. And sometimes our qualities as women has been put on the side because we couldn't or we were not allowed to show them to the world. So first of all, to me is one of the most important themes and like in this moment is that companies are not forced, or football is not forced to have women around. It has to be a choice. They have to choose to have it. And we have to be conscious to be ourselves in this world. So for the world where we are, the women's empowerment starts from here. When women will be recognized in society, we will be recognized also in sport, because the sport is the mirror of the society. So for the values, so for gender and everything that runs around it.
Thank you, Sara. I have the same question for Arianna. I've started since last week I started to follow you also on LinkedIn, and I like your positive way to talk about opportunities, not just talking about equality, but opportunities, because it is a business opportunity. So what's also your relationship with the social media about that?
I have a similar take and then a little bit different from Laura, and now I'm consciously trying to speak slower. So Laura, feel free to jump in if I pick it up and go too fast. Yeah. I personally, on one note, don't think that athletes have a social responsibility to be role models necessarily. You don't start playing a sport in order to be a role model. I think if you want to be a role model, that's fantastic. And I don't think you should be posting negative things on your social media by any means. But I think sometimes there's a lot of pressure put on athletes that they have to speak up about political topics or social things that are happening in the world, and they might not be equipped to do that or prepared to do that. And I don't think we should put pressure on them to do that. So that's one part of that. I am very active on LinkedIn, and I try to be more positive from the female perspective of what's happening in sport and how we can engage people to care or to pay attention. Women's sports, and especially women's football, is one of the biggest growing markets, and it's one of the best markets to be investing in because of the growth level that's there. A lot of the male markets are oversaturated, and it's very complicated to either, one, have a huge return, or two, to make a big difference. Sport is always moving forward, but within women's sports, there's so much of a margin that can happen, and that just a bit of money can do a huge amount for a club or for an organization. And so women's sports is where it is. And I think we should be more positive. And I never want to say that you have to pay attention to women's football or you have to do this or you have to give it money. I don't want to say that. I want to prove why women's sport is a good investment and where you can put money if you want a good return. And I think that's, for me, what I can do through social media is to bring awareness to this topic. And I think everybody can use social media in their personal way and which part of their lives they want to share or how they want to engage. I enjoy having kind of a different voice on the different platforms of social media. My Instagram is completely different from my LinkedIn account, and people can choose how they do that, but I think it's quite important to keep the separation of LinkedIn is more business focused. Like, I would never post a picture of my daughter on LinkedIn. It's just not my personal style, but on Instagram, you can probably find a picture of her, and to separate these things. And it's a great way, as Laura said, for people to share their voice and to show their uniqueness and what they're doing and how they're doing it. So I think social media can be positive, but I think there's also a very negative side to social media, and especially for women who are, people come on and they say terrible things and you have to turn off your comments or not pay attention in order to kind of keep going. But I think more and more that the great part is the players and the athletes themselves aren't having to respond. There's other people coming in and kind of protecting them or telling people and the trolls to get off. So I think social media hopefully will continue in this way, and that the women's voices will shine through and be better. So I am a part of social media and I find it. I just also think that we don't need to necessarily force all the athletes and how we do it and how we look at it. But long story short, I'm a fan of social media. I enjoy looking on LinkedIn. Everybody, if you want to know stuff about women's sports and women's football, go ahead and follow me on LinkedIn, because I will come back to it and do a lot more. But it is a great platform for us to share what's happening.
Thank you, Ariane. So, Sarah, you have been well recognized for the innovative marketing you applied both for clubs and sponsors. So, are there any innovative partnership or collaboration you'd like to see in women's football that could bring opportunities?
Yeah, I think there's a real opportunity for brands, sponsors, companies to help with those challenges I outlined before in women's football, and of those, predominantly the visibility, but also looking at where, you know, you can contribute to growing the game. So, you know, some examples of that, I think on the visibility side, I think probably everyone in the room, hopefully, saw the orange French ad ahead of the World Cup, where they tackled a real insightful kind of purchase marketing speak, a barrier to why people aren't engaging with women's football, and that's because they don't think the quality of women's football is as good as men's football. So they use their platform to, combat that misconception, and the creative showed the men playing football, and then rewind, well, it was actually photoshopped, and that was the women that you just saw playing football. And I've had a lot of debates with people about that ad, but I thought it did a fantastic job to combat one of those barriers. But at the same time, it was talked about, it drove that visibility. I think the other side to this is that the truth is, at this moment in time, brands aren't going to be investing in women's football if they're looking for those media values and those broadcast numbers. We're just not there yet. So we really need the brands to be investing on a platform of purpose. So finding brands that want to grow the game, invest in changing it. There's so much opportunity. So when I was at Southampton, we partnered with Starling Bank, so one of the challenger banks in the UK, and they became our front of shirt partner. And it is one of the biggest deals in the women's football in the UK. But they weren't ever going to get that return on their investment in terms of media. But what they did was they wanted to carry on their legacy of being a sponsor of the Euros, and they wanted to make a real contribution. So what we did was run a program where we trained female coaches. So a lot of girls football, they're coached by people like me, who's a parent that've done their basic qualifications, and that's not good enough for girls to really learn and develop, and there's a real lack of coaches. So Starling Bank said, well, you know what, we're going to use our investment to increase the number of girls football coaches, female coaches, so that we can have an impact on the game at that level, that they know if they're one of the first in and supporting and driving that brand relevance and association with women's football, that's going to pay back to them in time. So brands and sponsors, I think it's a huge opportunity. Those are just a couple of examples to really help us tackle those challenges that we have in the game and accelerate it further.
Thank you. I think time at the World Global is running out, so I have to close, but I want to say a big thank you to Sara, Laura, and Arianna. And let's continue to support and celebrate the extraordinary change in women's football. And I'd like to thank you again and thank Social Football Summit for the great organization and opportunity.